Welcome to episode 224 of School Librarians United. I'm your host, Amy Herman. This podcast is dedicated to the issues and challenges school librarians face every day. As a school librarian finishing my 16th year, I knew I wanted a podcast which addressed the nuts and bolts of running a successful library program. I don't claim to have the answers, but I hope that this is a platform to share resources and exchange ideas. Now is a perfect time to mention that all the ideas and opinions expressed in this podcast by myself, my interview guests, and listeners who reach out to the podcast are our own and do not reflect those of our school districts. When incorporating research, I always make sure to cite my sources. So whether you are a novice or a veteran school librarian, this podcast has something for you. Friends, if you listen to episode 222, Tables Are Turned, and my recent conversation with Penny Walsh, you heard just how important it is to me that listeners never pay for content. I am committed to always keeping these episodes free and available to school librarians. I also said that I have no issue with corporate sponsorship, as it means I can continue to dedicate my time and resources to generating new content each week with the support and funding of companies I believe in. So late March, I opened my email to discover a very intriguing invitation. The CEO of Literati was going to be visiting Metro Detroit, and would I be available to join her for lunch? Over my spring break, I was able to sit down with the CEO of Literati for lunch in a fun restaurant just a few miles away from my school. We discussed our vision for her company and my podcast. Our values align, and we saw an opportunity which was mutually beneficial. At the very same time I was meeting with the team at Literati, a former guest on the podcast, Amanda Chacon, posted a rave review of her recent book fair with Literati. So now I really needed to learn more, because if there's one thing I know I can trust, that is the feedback from a fellow school librarian. We can be harsh critics, so needless to say, I had a lot of questions. I hope you join me in learning more about Literati book fairs, and stay tuned to hear the amazing offer for school librarians using the code UNITED. And now, bonus episode, Literati book fairs, and my conversation with the team at Literati and Amanda Chacon. Friends, I'm so excited. I wanted to share some exciting news with our listening community. Today marks a new partnership with Literati Book Fairs. I am so grateful for this opportunity to work with the team at Literati in this bonus episode. We are going to get a chance to meet some of them today. Let's hear from CEO of Literati, Jessica Ewing. Jessica, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Amy. It's great to be here. We love it.
Well, and I got to meet you a couple weeks ago, and I was like,
no, it was really fun.
Oh my gosh, this is getting to be very real, and yet I couldn't tell anybody about it. So friends, the little secret I've been sitting on for a couple weeks is out. I can keep a secret. It is possible. But Jessica, we sat down and we got to talk about your company, and I could tell right away that this was going to be a really good match. It is your company. So would you give listeners a sense of what, as the CEO, what motivates you every day?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us, Amy. We're just really excited to be working with you. This is just a really exciting time for us. So, what motivates me? A couple of things. One is kids literature is just a really beautiful space, to be honest. When I first got into this kid lit space and started perusing kids books and even had it become a living, I just was like, wow, when we talked about this even, that I think some of the greatest art being done today is in kid lit, right? So getting to work in that space is, I think, really motivating just in general. But I think also just creating beauty in the world and bringing books to kids in different forms. We have book boxes that go to kids all over the country as part of our book club program. And as you know, and as we're going to get into in the episode, in the last year have spread our wings, and we're in the school book fair space, and it's just a really exciting place to be. And so I think what motivates me is beautiful art, beautiful user experiences. I'm a product person really at heart and a lover of literature at heart. So this company, it combines kind of all my loves, I guess.
Well, and I'll tell you, as somebody who, as a librarian, I'm supposed to have a lot of really strong memories of being in the library as a child. I don't. I have really strong memories about the book fairs, though.
We all do, kind of, right? Like, we just all have those memories.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't matter who you talk to. As a kid, and I'm old enough, I was like, well, I do remember those book fairs. And it's like, that was one of those real high points to school because it really was a different way to spend the day. And all of a sudden there was like a store in the middle of your library and you got to keep the books.
I know. I know.
That's what, like, you're making memories for all these kids.
I know. And it's really like, a child's first experience of like a bookstore. You know what I mean? It's like that first experience of that. And so we all have this like very nostalgic feeling about it. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's funny. I mean, librarians have a more, sobering reality of it because they have to set it up and, do the work and all that. But it really is like this nostalgic thing that is so magical. And I feel like it's important to maintain that because it's for many people that first impulse into the magic of literature. And if we can just like take that and hold on to it, it can carry someone through life.
Well, and I do think the wonderful thing about book fairs, it's a little like walking into Willy Wonka's factory because in most cases when adults and they're with their children, all of a sudden, the kids walk into the book fair space and they're like, I get to get something. Like,
I know. I know.
You can't say that to children about any other space, but you walk into a setting like a book fair in the library and you're like, you know what? You can get anything you like. And it really is that opportunity to splurge on our kids.
I know. I think it's great in that way. And it's just a lot of fun. It's just a fun experience. It's a really fun space to be in. I think, we've been in the kids sort of subscription book box space for a long time, trying to create magic and wonder, inside kind of a 12 by 12 box. And we've done an amazing job. But it's like, this book fair was just like, wow, what a new, incredible canvas to play with in terms of creating a product experience, like a shopping experience and a memorable experience.
You're sort of touching on something I'm really curious about because, you've got an audience of school librarians tuning in right now. Many school librarians rely on book fairs to supplement their budget each year. It is a reality that they will always have at least one, if not two book fairs a year. Why did you decide that it was important that Literati move into the book fair arena?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that it was a good match for us, like I said, for all of those reasons. We're a book creator. We love creating magical customer experiences. We have always been a really strong supply chain and logistics company. From the librarian angle, I mean, I think that we just thought that we wouldn't have gone into any business if we didn't think that there was opportunity to make an impact and to improve a product and to improve a user experience, and I just think that it's a space where we need more competition than we have right now. And it's a space where, I think competition just makes you better. It makes us all better. And so I think we're just like, hey, we're here to really compete for librarians. And I think that they need that to have the greatest product and to have the greatest user experience.
Well, I'm very excited that somebody's trying to compete for my attention. I'm feeling very flattered right now. I'd love to learn more about how Literati strives to provide an exceptional book fair experience for school librarians. Because, like you said, you're coming into an arena that is already occupied.
Yeah.
And you clearly have to distinguish yourself.
Correct.
And I want to know what you want to do that you feel will woo your school librarians, because
of course
we do like to be catered to.
Yeah.
And what I mostly appreciate is when I clearly sense that somebody is prioritizing my needs.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it starts with the customer, right? It starts with the customer, and I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to, because it's really basic, right? You can build all the innovative products in the world, but at the end of the day, if you're not listening to the customer and their pain points, you're not focused on the right things. So I can answer that question by let me start with you with what the 3 pain points are from librarians around book fairs. Okay, so the first pain point that we hear constantly is that book fairs are too difficult to set up. They take a team of volunteers, full day. It's just typically, that's the number one complaint that we hear. And so we focused on that first. I think that distinguishes us. It's the most powerful. So our book fairs, all of the books come pre-packed in the shelves. They're all pre-packed in our warehouse. You don't have to pack your own shelves. The book cases are easily wheeled out, opened up. It's a beautiful experience. I mean, we have a stop motion video that I like to show people of our design team sort of setting up a book fair. And it's like, it's of course like sped up, to be like in rapid fire motion, but it is just like boom, 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 set this up. And I mean, in terms of like the actual clock time it takes, you can set up a Literati book fair with one person in 45 minutes. And that's critical. And that's the cases, the cash register, everything's just meant to be like modern, easy to use, really sleek, a lot of videos and other supporting materials, and just like, okay, how to set this up. So I'd say that's the number one thing. The second complaint that we get when you ask librarians what they don't like, and this one's contentious because not everyone agrees, but a lot of people complain that they don't like selling toys. They just have kind of an issue with that, and that can be a lot of what's packed or sold at book fairs today. And so it's not like we don't have any little add-ons or extras or fun tchotchkes or things like that, but everything that we do is related to reading and writing. And so we've got pencils and journals and really fun things, and we've got a really fun reading and writing center, but we just don't do toys or trinkets. And, we draw a line there, like it just has to be related to reading and writing. And that's just like important to us, and it's really important to our customers. I think that that's critical. Those are the 2 big ones. And then, there's other things that are important to librarians that we've really tried to get right. Replenishment is a big one. Like if this is a big fundraiser for you, you've got to have a really seamless replenishment process. That just like has got to be right. If we get a replenishment order and is put in our system, it gets shipped out same day, overnighted. I mean, it's just like fast, right? And so we do that. We also automatically monitor sales at the fairs, and we'll replenish things if have reason to believe that there'll be stockouts. And we recognize that this is a fundraiser, and we're just trying to bring all the modern tools, technologies to make it just easy to set up, to make it just like very reading and writing focused, but at the same time, just really exciting, like with fun themes and creative innovations. I mean, we just think that you shouldn't have to use toys to get kids excited about a book fair. You can create an interactive experience that's delightful, that's exciting, that entices them to create that love of learning and love of life. That's really the mission of our company.
Well, and I got to tell you, as somebody who hosted 14 book fairs in 7 years out of necessity, but it was one of the most painful things for me was to be a witness to the struggles of the parents when that negotiating came with the students wanting something that wasn't a book. And to me, it was so hard because I was the reason why this was happening in the first place. And so the fact that you've made that a priority because you recognize that shouldn't be part of the conversation when kids go into a book fair. And is that tug of war between families and the children over something that actually isn't a book after all. And it's like, wait, why are we here? If not to get books to inspire the love of reading. I love all the things that you've done to put the needs of school librarians first, because at the end of the day, we've made this decision to have a book fair, and it's usually out of necessity. But the fact is, it's going to be a pleasant experience. And you've started to allude to some of this already, but when Literati designed their book fair experience, what did you do specifically to entice and to excite and to recognize that at the heart of this are the students and their families who are coming for that shopping experience? And let's be fair, you've got a whole bunch of teachers who are also coming through who would also like to be part of the excitement. But what does Literati do when it comes to recognizing who your customers are when they come into a book fair?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, I think that there's two things that immediately come to mind, and then I might share with you a few things that we're testing or working on because this is, we just want to be always innovating and always getting better with this experience, and this is an important one. And keep in mind, we're new to this market. I mean, this is like you and I are talking, and this is our first full year operating book fairs. We operated last year. This is our first full year. And it's really exciting. And we're getting some really, really, really great customer feedback. I'll share with you, what we're doing to answer your question, to make the kid experience and the parent experience, really great. The one thing you can, rely on with us is that whatever it is, we want to be better. However good we're doing at something, we want to beat our own best efforts. Like customers fill out survey forms. I read every single one. They all get sent to me and I read them cover to cover because I want to know like how we are doing and how we can get better. The student experience and the parent experience really begins with really great marketing materials, and that gets everybody excited about the fair. And you need really beautiful materials. And I think you're talking to Carissa from my team, our creative director. And so her team, they just do such a good job of creating really exciting themes. But I think it starts with just like, a really great selection of books. We're a curation company, so we've been in this game for a really long time. What are the greatest books that we can possibly, put on this fair? And we work with over 150 different publishers. So, we include indie publishers. We go deep on the curation. So, what is awesome stuff that's going to get kids excited, be great stuff to put on the fair? Then how do you market it in a really beautiful way with awesome themes that gets, everybody excited, including, obviously, like, I don't know if everybody uses this, but there's like a pre-roll kind of video that sometimes gets shown in the classroom. And so, Carissa's team does like a really great job on that. They hire like professional actors and all these things to get like everybody like super jazzed. The other really important things are flexibility on how you shop. Not everyone can always attend the fair in person. You might be sick. You might be out of town. So we provide online fair for those who can't attend in person. So you can shop online and get your books and, all your stuff shipped and like not miss out on the fair if you just can't be there in person. That's really important to get right. And then I think the other thing to get right, Amy, and I know you and I talked about this because this is something that resonates with you and me deeply, is just to make sure that you have something for every price point. That's just like so important. And so not everybody has like tons of money to spend at the book fair. Everybody wants to take home something cool, and so like, we don't call out value books or put stickers on them or anything like that. We have the librarians, the teachers to help direct kids and help them navigate the fair. And so I think it's just important to include materials where everybody can take home something, of really high quality that meets their budget.
Jessica, I'll be perfectly honest. I am always incredibly selfish. I'm hoping that school librarians are in the forefront of your mind when you're creating a business model to work in our schools, and you've started to answer some of this already, but in what way do you feel Literati is prioritizing, focusing on the needs of school librarians? Because we are at the very heart of what we do. We are business people. We are people who have recognized the need to have a fundraiser. And yet we want to make sure that when we're spending our time focusing on the book fair, we're clearly not taking care of the needs of our library space. So I really, selfishly, I love that you've already mentioned something that I'm so curious about, that in monitoring our sales, you can anticipate the restocks before we even put them in. And that, to me, that would have been incredibly useful when I was first getting into book fairs and in my first couple of years as being a librarian. But I really could have used somebody like Literati helping me because I'm not a business person.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think you've hit it right on the head. I mean, I'm going to answer it make it really simple. I'll give you a really simple answer. I feel like librarians, they need time, they need money, and they need kids excited about reading. That's it. If we could just do that, like just those three things, I think that I can feel really proud of this company. And we as employees can feel really proud of what we created.
Well, and I do love what you're saying because, something that truly bothered me about fundraising was the fact that I was very aware at the same time I was wasting time. School librarians, as you say, are so stretched already, and I'm so worried that in spending time on a book fair that it's going to take away from the things that I'm supposed to be doing. And you've started to talk a little bit about this, but Literati is aware that our time is valuable. And, what is Literati doing to make sure that we are using our time well and we are not wasting our time?
Of course. I think that you've got to go straight to what are the key kind of time wasters. The setup we touched on, that's a big one. And make it really fast, make it 45 minutes, one person, making the cash registers really, sleek. We have a great user experience around our cash registers. Videos that are easy to find of like, if you're having an issue, our customer service team is so fast. And so if you are having an issue, you don't have to, waste your time with customer service. Replenishment we touched on. Replenishment is huge. We try to, monitor the sales, and there is some sort of sales surprise. We're monitoring in the background looking for that. So, those are some of the things that we really do to save time. What I was thinking of, like, how we'll know when we really, really, really did our job is in this regard of the saving time. I was thinking, like, I know that we'll have done our job when someone calls us and says, I wasn't having book fairs and we had given up on book fairs and now we want to do them again. That's the call that I think will make us know that, like, wow, we really did a good job here. Or, hey, we've never had one before, but, we want to do one. And I think that's like great, expand the market and expand the number of people who want to do these fairs because, they're easier now than they were, before.
I really want to learn more about what kind of flexibility you offer to school librarians, because at the end of the day, when the profit doesn't matter to me as much if I don't have that flexibility and how I can spend it. I have very strong opinions about what I want to buy, and the last thing I want to do is be pressured into buying something that I don't want. So what does Literati do to give us the most flexibility to enjoy the funds that we have worked so hard to earn?
Totally. 100%. We really try to be as flexible as possible. We offer three categories of rewards currently. So you can get, 50% back in book bucks, which is just, books that you take off the fair. And that's a great option for some people. You can get 30% back in Tidal Wave gift cards. So Tidal Wave is just huge it's a huge partnership for us. We love Follett. We love Tidal Wave. And so Follett works very closely with us on the rewards. So you can get 30% back in Tidal Wave or just 20% back in cash if you just really do need that total flexibility. Or you can also mix and match all three rewards. So if you finish up your fair and you're like, I want to take some of my rewards in book bucks and my teachers want to come shop or, do some other things. Some people raise the money and they have different, ways of allocating the funds. So it's just like, if you want to take a little bit back in book bucks, that's always a good idea because that's going to, stretch the furthest. And then, Tidal Wave is great. And then, cash is king. You got to have a cash option. So that's really, we try to be flexible. If someone wants to mix and match, we try to make that easy.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, librarians are going to want to know if their school can host a Literati book fair. What is the range? How would my school librarians who are listening in right now find out if they are in an area where Literati can reach them?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the easiest way to just find out is to just visit literati.com/bookfairs or to email bookfairs@literati.com, and someone will just instantly basically get back and see if we operate in the area. We are expanding quickly. I will say we're operating in 24 states currently. This is our first full year, so please be patient with us if you really want to work with us and we're not in your area. We may be there soon. We are expanding quickly and we are hoping to take on more territories. We want to service as much of the lower 48 as we can. So just be patient with us if we're not there yet, but you can find out if you're eligible by visiting literati.com/bookfairs or, emailing bookfairs@literati.com.
Well, and friends, we'll be sure to put that contact information in our show notes. Jessica, school librarians love a good deal. Of course, we're always thinking about the needs of our students and our community. What is Literati offering school librarians who schedule a book fair using the code UNITED?
Okay, well, just for you, Amy, because, this is just for you and your listeners. I know you're laughing, but this is very unique to this podcast, so listen up. If you book your first Literati book fair, and this is eligible for the fall 2023 season, and if you book by July 31st, 2023, and you use the code UNITED, you'll receive a $500 Tidal Wave gift card. So, yeah, no, it's a pretty nice offer, and, use the code UNITED. Your listeners, we wanted to provide a little reward. Love a little good deal. I know you do. We talked about this, but yeah, honestly, book your fall fair, get it a $500 Tidal Wave gift card, and just use the code UNITED, and, we've got you.
So, and Jessica, just so my listeners hear correctly, you would like to get those reservations on the books by July 31st.
Yep. I would book early because fall is filling up fast, and we want to offer this reward to listeners. So yeah, just give it a shot.
So friends, if you have never hosted a Literati book fair, this is an opportunity that it really sounds too good to be true. But you know what? We've got the CEO of Literati here today, Jessica Ewing. I am so grateful you and I had a chance to meet in person. It feels like, and we're working together, and it's like, I really can't thank you enough for making time out of your schedule. We were able to sit down and really have a better understanding of what we can do moving forward, especially because we have so much in common when it comes to the value that we place on school librarians in this partnership. Thank you so much for joining us, Jessica Ewing. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Amy.
Friends, we are so fortunate today. We've got Carissa Cardoza from Literati joining us. Carissa, thank you for being here today. Would you let us know, what do you do at Literati?
Yeah, so I'm the creative director at Literati. I oversee the brand vision and the creative direction for all of the branded content and customer-facing materials across all areas of the business. So that includes mostly our book fairs and our kids' book club. So I oversee just a really talented team of designers, writers, video producers, and social content creators that all come together to bring customer experiences to life through well-crafted, engaging content materials that really aim to help kids fall in love with reading and support librarians in running amazing book fairs.
I've just gotten acquainted with the Literati website. Do you have anything to do with the Literati website?
Yeah, actually, I designed that myself. So I designed the design template, and I worked with a UX designer, and we kind of brought the whole thing together in the course, I think, of about 2 or 3 weeks. So I am very well acquainted with the Literati website.
Well, and I'm going to be quite honest, because librarians are really critical of user interface, especially when it involves fundraisers that we might be involved with. We're going to be engaging with Literati through the website. And it really is vitally important that it's intuitive and we can follow along and it makes sense and it's easy to use. Carissa, Literati has put a special emphasis on design and theming. Can you tell us how the themes come to life and what your team does to make Literati book fairs such a special experience?
Yeah, so actually one of my team's favorite things in the world to work on is developing these new themes. For each book fair season that we have, we basically get to invent an entirely new concept, design, and look and feel, and create a whole new special experience for kids every time that their book fair comes to their school. We know that the book fair is such an exciting time for kids, and so we know it's really important to make sure that the book fair is as high quality as possible and is super fun and special. So we take a lot of care in crafting the concept, the illustrations, the design of our themes, and we strive to make all of the materials and activities for the fair as engaging and as interactive as possible, so they really help spark a greater interest in reading and finding these new books at their upcoming fair.
So I'm curious, it sounds like you might have something to do with when somebody walks into the book fair, they're going to see the visuals that your team created. Mm-hmm. Can you, especially for me, I've never attended a Literati book fair. What kinds of visuals would I see when I walk into a Literati book fair?
So it ranges from anything from the posters and the outdoor signage that you have, but then also every book fair that we have, or every bookcase that we have, has signage that pops up across all of the bookshelves. So we design all of those assets that you see, and they all tie in with the theme that we are featuring. So one of the themes that is upcoming, it's for our fall theme, is called Crack the Case, which is a mystery theme. And we're especially excited about this theme because we get to integrate a more interactive experience for the kids within the printed materials at the book fair, but also all of the digital materials that we provide as well. So within the materials, we're calling readers to follow the clues along the way and unlock certain puzzles and games and activities that are throughout the entire fair experience. So it's, it could be leading up to the book fair, and then it's at the book fair itself. So it's going to be really fun. It's sort of like a top secrets of the hidden library concept that'll be really fun for both the younger readers, but also the older kids as well.
Oh, that's so clever. It sounds like it would then invite the students to take advantage of all of the book fair. So they would have to go and see all of the book fair to be able to solve the mystery?
Yeah, exactly. And then also within the book flyers that they get, and we also have some social media assets that the librarians can download to promote their fair, and classroom activities, and all of the activities and all of the touch points and material that the students interact with will have these puzzles and games and clues to, have a much richer, more engaging experience with the fair.
It sounds like your team is responsible for really sort of creating a sort of out-of-the-box experience where librarians can sort of hit the ground running and, sort of print a couple things. They can add those images to the materials that they produce. And it sounds like you're making it a lot easier for us to promote the book fair without having to generate a whole lot of original material.
Yeah, absolutely. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for librarians to promote their fair, set it up to feel like a real bookstore in as little time as possible, and ultimately host a fair that's really successful as a fundraiser while providing that really magical experience for the kids.
Carissa, that's fantastic. I hope you plan on coming back to the podcast and letting us know what you and your team are working on next.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, friends, I can't wait to meet this next member of the Literati team, Aubrey Poole. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for having me.
So, Aubrey, as the newest member of the Literati team, would you give me an idea of what you do at Literati? Because I have a feeling that you and I are going to be friends.
You could be right about that. So yeah, I'm the curator. So I get to choose the books that you see at our fairs or in our boxes. So basically, I'm the resident book nerd here at Literati. So I think we have a lot in common.
So tell me, you're basically bringing sort of a microcosm, a sort of a bookstore experience into a scale that we are able to host in our spaces. So what do you do to make sure that you are providing enough materials for all the age groups that you support?
Yeah, it's a good question. So right now, Literati, we have book fairs that range from grades kindergarten up through 8th grade. We're not currently in high school, so if you have any high school librarians listening out there, I apologize. But if you're K to 8, we've got plenty of books for you. I think what really sets Literati apart is, our book choices are informed by data, but handpicked by humans. So we really like to sit at that crossroads of art and science. Data to me a lot about what our customers have enjoyed in the past, maybe what they're looking for, what types of books to purchase, what types of books to send. Sort of like you as a librarian asking your patrons questions when they come in trying to find a book. That data really informs me. But then, the human element has to come in here, and I go and I look for the books that I think, your kids are going to love. I'm a big reader. I'm a professional bookworm. My co-curator, Kristen, was a public librarian. So between us, I think we have about 30 years experience in publishing. My background is as an editor. So I was editing children's books at Hachette and Source Books. So we've got a lot of experience just working with books. And so we kind of bring that to the table along with our wonderful data team.
Well, and I think that librarians, especially when we schedule those book fairs, we put a great deal of trust in the professionals who are creating this experience for the students at our schools. And, Literati is known to have a really fantastic selection of books on the shelves and also in the book club boxes. You've talked a little bit about your process. Let me ask you, you're looking at books that are going to go on our shelves for our book fair. What really gets you excited when you start looking at books that you say, I think this is going to go out in this next book fair?
Yeah, thanks. Well, that's a great compliment coming from a librarian, so I appreciate that. So yeah, like I said, I know a lot about books. I've worked with a lot of books. I read a lot of books. So I'm definitely keeping up with, trends and sort of where the publishing marketplace is going. You've probably seen unicorns are super hot right now. Dinosaurs never are unpopular. So things like that. Really, what never goes out of fashion is really good storytelling. And that's what, gets me really excited. And as a librarian, as a curator, I think what we do is all about discoverability, whether it's trying to find a book for a patron, trying to find the right book that goes on the bookshelf, or if you're a patron or a customer and you're coming in, you're just overwhelmed by choice, you're not really sure what you want, what you need, trying to make those matches. We're kind of book matchmakers. That's really what we're doing. And so I talk to, as an editor, I know editors are really close to the material. So I talk to the editors, I talk to the publishers, I read the trade reviews, I talk to librarians, I listen to their podcasts. Look at the awards list, go to conventions. I was just at TLA recently. So really it's trying to find books from anywhere here in the US, across the globe. We find books in the UK even, we'll go anywhere for a great book, basically. And so, there are some that are really big bestsellers for a reason. Books like The Food Group or Pete the Cat. Those are fantastic books. They're really popular. They're in our fairs as they should be. But what I get excited about is finding what we call those hidden gems. Being able to shine a spotlight on books that maybe you wouldn't be able to discover on your own, kind of bringing that to the table. We don't have to prioritize any particular publisher. With our fairs, we can go to any publisher, small, big, as I mentioned, local, international. Some of my favorite books from spring that fall into this category were, we did a debut picture book by Texas author illustrator Brianna Karzu called Lou, about a heroic fire hydrant. And that came out from HarperCollins, but we also did Mindful Mr. Sloth, which is from an indie publisher, Capstone, which I think you're familiar with. We even brought in a new chapter book series called Gemstone Dragons, which is from an employee-owned publisher in the UK called Arcturus. And we even had a special edition of Kid YouTuber by Marcus Emerson, which he self-published. So, like I said, any great book from anywhere, we'll go find it and we'll bring it to you at the Literati Book Fair.
I love that. I'm so grateful that I have had an opportunity to meet both of you. And I hope Aubrey and Carissa, you come back on the podcast. Listeners are going to be wanting to hear a little bit about the updates and what we can expect from Literati moving forward.
Happy to. Thanks so much, Amy.
Thank you.
Friends, I'm so excited. Amanda Chacon, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Friends, you're going to want to tune in. If you haven't already heard Amanda's episode 207, STEM Librarian, which posted on January 13 of this year, 2023. Amanda, would you remind listeners where in the country you are and a little bit about your school?
Absolutely. So I am currently an elementary school librarian at a Title I school in Houston, Texas. And currently we have around 600 students in our school in grades 1 through 5.
So friends, I like to spend time with librarians on Facebook and on Twitter. And I was on Facebook not too long ago, and I saw that you'd posted that you had recently hosted a Literati book fair. And I was like, wait, Literati? Wait, so, and in fairness, you've actually hosted more than one Literati book fair.
Yes, I've done 2 this past school year.
And could you tell me a little bit about the spacing? What worked for you when you decided to have 2 book fairs in one calendar year? I know for some librarians that sounds perfect and right up their alley, but tell us what worked for you.
It does sound like a lot for some, and then some it sounds like not enough. So what we do is 1 per semester, and we usually tie it around another event that's already happening. I usually have it around Halloween, when we have a school event where kids can come and trick or treat, bring their families. And then in the spring as well, we have a literacy night where, again, the community comes onto the campus and the book fair is there.
Wow. I think that's so smart because I've heard of some people who've tried to attach it to things like parent-teacher conferences. And I'm just going to tell you right now, that is a very stressful. Okay, I didn't know any better, but I was like, oh, what evening event do we have up? Oh, I know, parent-teacher conferences. Oh, no, that's just not a good formula for success. So I like your idea much better. Given that you've done 2 this calendar year, what made hosting a Literati book fair so memorable?
Okay, so I've been a librarian for 13 years, and all of those 13 years I've done book fairs. And what felt different this time was that I felt special. I felt like my kids were special, that my book fair was special, and that I was special. I didn't feel like I was like trying to meet a quota, if you will. I felt like listened to, and, these are my kids. These are what my kids like. And, they responded very quickly. And then with resources that my kids would buy and that they would be interested in. And so I felt like we mattered and we were listened to. And something so simple, but it's huge.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because as a former elementary librarian, I hosted 14 book fairs in 7 years. It was a little aggressive. And I got to tell you, I always felt like I was disappointing my vendor. Yeah. And I know you shouldn't feel that way when you're trying to have a book fair, but I'm glad that you mentioned that. So, in the past, I remember scrambling to get volunteers to unpack a book fair. Can you tell listeners a little bit about what it's like to set up a Literati book fair?
Absolutely. So I personally think that's the most stressful part of a book fair because it's so labor intensive. But Literati makes it very easy. So they have these large, sturdy cases that, you just open up and you just pop up the top for the signage. They also have something beautiful, which are double-sided and end-capped bookcases. So it's very much a bookstore kind of experience. And, you obviously arrange it in your space for what works for you. And then they do have boxes of books. However, the difference is the books are already in wire racks. So you just lift out the rack onto the top of the double-sided bookcase and boom, you have your display. So you do have to bend over, like one time, but that's better than bending over, 5 times, 10 times, getting the books out of the boxes and then try to arrange them cute, which I'm not good at. So Literati does that for me. And it was just like such a blessing, like that it took just 1-2 hours, to make it look exactly how I wanted it to look.
How did you feel? I mean, as long as we're talking about the stuff that happens on the front end, did you feel like you had some control over the schedule date of, when the delivery was coming and having adequate time before, because I was always a little stressed out because you wanted to make sure that you had enough time to set up before your customers were going to be coming, and that turnaround time, depending on what kind of window you were given by your vendor. So did you feel like the timing worked for you, that you were given enough time and you didn't have to somehow, not do your job, which was also a stressor for me?
That is a stressor, yes. No, I absolutely love the communication. I wasn't used to that, honestly, but I was told, well, first of all, I said, I really would like to set up my book fair on this day and start on this day. And I was listened to, and that's when it was delivered a couple of days beforehand. And I was even given like email updates about this is when it will be delivered. This is the 4-hour window which it will be delivered, which was very helpful so that I could make sure I was in the library. And then the people who deliver it, I believe it's somebody different, but they called me to make sure, hey, we're going to be on your campus at such and such time. We're on our way, that kind of thing. So there was a lot of clear communication, and that helped me, relieve some of the stress. Oh, I'm going to have all my stuff so that I can have it up and ready to go.
Did you feel like when they delivered everything that you could fit them through the standard door sizes? I mean, I'm remembering at some point in a previous life when I hosted book fairs, I had to take things off the top because they were piled so tall that we couldn't get things through the door. Did you feel like it was manageable, that you could get everything from the truck into the space where you were going to be hosting your book fair?
Yes. So I mentioned the double-sided and end-capped bookcases, and that alleviated a lot of extra boxes on top.
So there weren't that many boxes on top of the cases at all. Like I could move on myself if I wanted to. And then I believe there was a poster box, and then there was a box for the school supplies.
Wonderful. So, Amanda, you mentioned you teach littles, and I did too. And thinking back on the days of the Ziploc bag with the cash in it and the child's name written on the Ziploc bag, another source of stress for me. But let's talk about the exchange of money. And when we're talking about how your customers, whether they're students or parents coming in, what was this money exchange like for you? Were you given the option to do plastic? And I'm just trying to remember when I had to go to the bank and get rolls of coins and a lot of singles. So what is the transaction like when you are making sales to your students and to the families?
Okay, well, first of all, the cash register for Literati is gorgeous. Everyone who checked out and me, I just felt so professional using it. It's a very large touch screen, color touch screen. They use a Square payment system. So it does take e-gift cards, it takes touchless cards, it takes Apple Pay even, which the parents absolutely adored. So as far as payments go, I know some librarians are starting to opt for no cash book fairs. And I think that would be completely doable with Literati because they make it easy. And I've linked it on my book fair website where the parent can go in and just click and put however much they want their kid to spend. And then it just magically appears in my system. And then boom, then we don't have to exchange any money. I didn't do that these past 2 times because I wanted to see how it went. But I am leaning more and more towards that because it was just so easy to do the cashless payments with the Literati cash register.
Wonderful. Well, and really, you're at the end of the day, it's your parents who are going to be the ones who drive this decision for you because they're. As it is always best to be listening to the parents on this when we're talking about the money. So we always have goals for ourselves when we take on something like a book fair because, at the end of the day, you're channeling energy into something and you're hoping that it is successful and invariably keeps you from doing things that you might otherwise be doing in your space. So did you feel that this Literati book fair was worth your time?
Yes, I did. Aside from obviously getting books into the hands of children, we librarians tend to do this because we get some sort of profit from it, right? And so, first of all, I just absolutely loved my students' reaction to the book fair, and they just loved how professional it looked. It was very much of a bookstore kind of feel. And so that was fun to see. But also, as far as profit goes, I usually choose the tidal wave credit option. Because I like my books to come to me cataloged and bound because, I don't have a lot of extra time for that stuff. And so it just makes it very easy. They just send you your gift card number and then you just type it in once you have your list and boom, you don't have to worry about like any extra paperwork. I loved that profit option. You also can take obviously things from the book fair and insert those into your library right away. And I do some of that as well.
Wonderful. I remember from my past experience hosting book fairs that the selection and the supply were always a concern. So let's talk about the selection of the books first of all. Did you feel like you had enough variety to support? Because you've got, elementary school, so you've got your littles, you've got your kids who are looking for middle grade books already. So did you feel there was an adequate balance?
I loved the selection. And also, I think I mentioned it earlier that you get some input into the items that come to you. And so I made sure to say, I really want to cater during those community events. They bring their little brothers and sisters. So let's get some of those pre-K kindergarten books onto the book fair. That happened. Not a problem. Had a ton of them. And then also we have a large Spanish speaking population. And this past book fair, I was like blown away by the amount of Spanish materials that were available. I was just like snapping them up for the library too, because it was just like amazing. So hard to get a hold of those. But we had everything from those baby board books to the early readers, to chapter books, to graphic novels, of course. And then also we got like some fun books. We had a lot of drawing books, which is very hot with the kids right now. And I haven't ever seen those in a book fair before. and then trivia type books and things of that nature.
Well, and you want to appeal to the broadest sort of array of readers. And you know, all in my book, and I'm sure in yours too, all reading is reading. And, you know, we don't want any of our students to feel like they aren't welcome in this space, because we want to make sure that there's plenty of things that they can enjoy. So let's talk a little bit about the supply. Because I know that a lot of us tend to get a little anxious when it comes to, will we have enough books to be able to make it through to you know, whether it's doing this over a couple days or an evening. So did you feel like you had enough books to last?
I did. And then we're also going to talk about restocking here in a second, which is like a phenomenal feature. But, you know, normally I would say I get, you know, 1, 2, 3, max 5 copies of a title. But with Literati, I had double digits with most of them. And so I felt like just opening up the fair, that it was just fully stocked. It had, there were no gaps. It was just beautiful. And then, of course, if we're running low on something, we're going to talk about restocking.
So, yeah, and that is one of those things that is sort of a nail biter, because I know when I would open up and I'm like, okay, if nothing else shows up, is this going to be able to hold us? And I remember restocking before the students had even come in, because I was really worried. And we talk about this supply chain now and in this sort of time that we're in right now. But tell us, when it came to restocking, were you able to turn it around quickly? I mean, more accurately, was Literati able to turn it around quickly?
Yes, and I think this is something that librarians are going to go crazy for, because you can do a restock order straight from their website, and they have a list of items. You just click, and then you click how many you want, and then you submit your order, and it shows up usually the next day if you do it by a certain time. Literati also monitors your sales as you are going along in the book fair, and if they see, oh, we sent her 20 copies of this title and she's down to 5, they're going to send you more automatically. If you have control issues like me, you can go ahead and request it as well. Just like you said, I tend to know what my kids want ahead of time. And I'm like, okay, I already know they're going to love this. I put an order in ahead of time. But as the fair is going on, they're just like paying attention to you again and just giving you that special attention and saying, oh, they're running out of this. Let's send them some more. And I just loved that. I was so excited about that.
Oh, no, I want to do a book fair.
I know.
Why weren't these features in place when I was doing it? Friends, I did 14 book fairs in 7 years. My first 7 years of being a school librarian, I did 14 book fairs. And it was a lot of, I'm just going to say it was a lot of work. It was just a lot of work. We're always looking for, we always want to support those stakeholders. We're always looking for that feedback, because at the end of the day, it's our kids who get excited about the book fair that really bring in those parents and make the book fair the success that it is. So I'm guessing you probably asked your students how they felt about this book fair.
Yes, I always love to get feedback from the students. It helps drive my decisions as a librarian. And so I did ask them through a Google form, which book fair did you prefer, the new or the old? And then also why? Why did you prefer one over the other? And so the data came in astoundingly in favor of Literati. 72% said they preferred Literati. And the reasoning why, almost 75% said because there were more options available, more selections. And then almost half said because of better prices. So the students notice, oh, the prices are not that bad.
Well, and I think that speaks to their sense, their business sense, because as consumers, they aren't too young enough to realize that if the prices are lower, you can buy more.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I love that. So I know it's a ways off, but looking ahead to next year, what convinced you to schedule another Literati book fair?
I think aside from, the student feedback and the parent feedback, the parents loved it as well. And I just feel less stress about it. It's like, I think about, oh, I have a book fair coming up in October. I don't even have to stress about it right now, because I already know I'm going to be communicated with. I'm going to have input on what comes into the book fair. And then I already know I don't have to take an entire day and 4 Advil to set up the book fair.
Amanda, for listeners who are interested in reaching out to you, following you on social media, taking a look at your blog, and definitely listening to your episode, would you let us know how we can find you out there on social media, especially if listeners wanted to reach out to you about your experience hosting a Literati book fair?
Yes, and please get in touch with me if you have any questions. I am on Twitter at @thegoodread, Instagram at StimLib, and then also I have a Google site. It's sites.google.com/view/Amanda Chacon.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of the school year.
Thank you. You too.
I'm so grateful to Jessica, the team at Literati, and Amanda Chacon for joining me today. I encourage listeners to consider learning more about Literati and to be sure to take advantage of this very special offer. Schedule your first Literati book fair for fall 2023 by July 31st and receive a $500 Tidal Wave gift card. The topic of our next episode will be caution, content warnings, and my conversation with Amanda Hunt. I hope you will tune in.